6 AI agents, each built with a unique edge. Miko, AI, Team Leader. Ori AI, Fundamental Analyst. Exi, AI, Technical Analyst. Mesa, AI, Risk Management Specialist. Fenwa, AI Market Sentiment Analyst. And Naledi AI, the cryptocurrency expert. Together, they're engineered to protect, guide, and transform your trading. The future of trading is here. Experience Zentrix AI. 6 AI agents, each built with a unique edge. Miko, AI, Team Leader. Ori AI, Fundamental Analyst. Exi, AI, Technical Analyst. Mesa, AI, Risk Management Specialist. Fenwa, AI Market Sentiment Analyst. And Naledi AI, the cryptocurrency expert. Together, they're engineered to protect, guide, and transform your trading. The future of trading is here. Experience Zentrix AI.
Okay, what's up people? Welcome back to another stream. Hope everyone is doing well. As always guys, if you're enjoying the content, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It does really help out. Make sure you do check out the memberships if you do want to support the channel further. There are added perks, members only videos, so if you haven't checked it out, make sure you go do so. Feel free to share the channel, share the streams with your friends as well, and of course hit the bell too so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. But guys, welcome back to the stream. Hope you're all doing well. As always, we've got a bunch of markets to go through. We'll start with the USD side of things, DXY, USD majors, gold and silver. If you do have any requests, any pairs, any particular time frames you want me to take a look at, drop it in the chat and we shall take a look. What's up, Tony Gold? Welcome to the stream, my man. Hope you are well. So as always guys, we'll get through some USD pairs, and of course any pairs you are looking, drop it in the chat. But it's an interesting day today. We do have, of course, NFP later this afternoon, so I do have a feeling we probably won't see much activity from now till then, as probably markets are waiting for that news to be released. But taking a look at the dollar, still mixed bag really with this one. We're looking pretty weak this morning. But again, I wouldn't get too excited, especially because of NFP later, but because, as we've been saying for the past 2-3 weeks now, we're comfortably within this range. So as we are looking bearish, it's not really leading to anything in terms of an opportunity, because with me, the only opportunity that makes sense would be either price looking to bounce off the lows, bounce off the highs, or of course breakouts beyond those levels. And then we can target significant highs and lows. Whether we break to the upside, we can look at this high, or we break to the downside, we can look at this low. So there is plans, there is setups at play for the DXY should we make those moves. But yeah, it's a ticking time bomb. The price has to make those moves for those opportunities to actually set up, and that's hopefully where NFP comes into play later this afternoon. We are looking bearish this morning, but would I look to try and do anything? No. We are approaching some support to our left, but again, context is massive here. Where are we trading? Is it in any area of significance? Not in my opinion. So despite price trading at support, maybe it breaks through, maybe it reacts, I wouldn't be looking for anything meaningful at those areas. So USD, not too interested about the current momentum, the current price, more so what we do at those areas, 98.668 roughly, and 97.629. That's really where my focus lies. And that analysis stands the same for euro dollar as well. We've got equal highs, equal lows here. Euro's been very, very flat lately. Direction hasn't been clear. Again, depending which way price breaks out, there could be some really lovely breakout opportunities, pullback opportunities in both directions, similar to the DXY, whether we see a push to highs over there or a push to these lows. There are opportunities in both directions. Again, it's just about staying patient, waiting for those setups to actually arise. Of course, there are opportunities within the range. We have bounced and rejected both the low and the high recently. Didn't quite get back to the low there. I would have liked to see a bit more downside for us to actually retest that support level as we've done previously. Kind of got about 80% of the way there before price turned around. Seeing some strength this morning. Again, similar to the dollar, wouldn't look to do anything with it. Looks like we're trading through resistance at the moment. I wouldn't get too excited. It's more so what price does at these areas, which is where my interest will lie. If I'm going to trade a ranging market, I want to make sure I'm right at the high or the low of that range. If I'm looking for pullback opportunities, I want to make sure the conditions are bullish or bearish. If we're seeing a clear trend in a particular direction, we're neither doing any of those things. So right now it's very much sit on my hands, waiting for price to develop. And especially with NFP later this afternoon, I think it all makes sense just to kind of stay put. Unless you're already in a position, stay put and see what we have in store for us this afternoon. Pound USD, same situation occurs, except I really did like the bounce we had this week. Price came back into the low of this support level, 1.338, rejected once, twice, did break through, brief rejection as resistance there. Didn't quite make it over here, but well and truly did actually dip below slightly the level, which was actually a nice confluence. And potentially any early buyers at this level would have been taken out of the market, and then after we saw that reaction, that would have been a nice confirmation. And price has steadily been pushing higher. Of course, USD seeing some weakness now is starting to help pound USD rally, but altogether we are rejecting the low of the range, so naturally expecting a push towards the high, which would take us around 1.35798. So I'm pretty bullish here with pound USD because we're rejecting the low of the range. So my expectation is a push towards the high, or at least some resistance in this area. But again, in terms of a bigger swing, in terms of my bias for pound USD, that's still not quite in play yet. Still waiting for price to make a move above these areas or below these areas to actually have that concrete bias. If you do break to the upside, 1.375. If you do break to the downside, 1.315 will be my targets in about 200 pip range between both of those targets, both of those levels. So pound USD, I do like what I'm seeing. It's just, again, waiting for price to actually get the setup, which is why I've been speaking about NFP quite a lot, because hopefully we can actually see that start to come into play this afternoon. If not, probably sometime next week. We're not going to range forever. So yeah, it's eventually going to break out. But again, that's where the patience comes in. And if pound USD or USD pairs aren't quite doing it for you, there are other pairs to trade, or you can just potentially wait it out. Dollar CAD, another one which I'm interested in shorting. We have come back to a nice area of supply. I like the rejection. I am contemplating some entries on the 8-hour chart, which will close in about 3 hours and 46 minutes. I like the combination of wicks and candlesticks we're seeing. Really nice piercing wick into that zone. Strong shift of momentum. This could be a nice sell, at least back to lows here. I'm liking the candlestick formation. But again, 3 hours and 46 minutes is a long period of time. And we could look a lot different between now and then. But let's say if you do close well, of course, this will factor in NFP as well. This will close around 2 p.m. UK time, and NFP is 1:30. So it will encompass NFP and allow me to enter after. So I'm not jumping in front of that train. But yeah, if the rejection looks good by the time this candle closes, I really like the wick into that level. I've been speaking about dollar CAD shorts throughout the week. I said it's a pair which I do like the downside opportunity for. We have come back into major resistance over here once, almost a second time, but then we came in for a second time and actually tested the level, a third time, and a fourth there. So you can see it acting as resistance in a very significant manner. Really big moves to the downside from these areas, and of course price is now coming back into that level again. So potentially we could see another big drop. These are not small reactions from these areas. I would say a push back to this low would be pretty likely. There is a world where we do see a push all the way down here. Of course, as long as price does stay below resistance, that's a key factor. We do need to stay below resistance there. And then, yeah, we could see a push back into this low, and probably even a push beyond that as well, back to 1.323 as well. But that's something we can speak about maybe in the next coming weeks. But for now, I like the shorts for dollar CAD, rejecting an area pretty well. Like I said, 8 hours, probably where I'll find my entry. 4 hour, not quite doing it. in terms of how the candles are closing. So 8 hour has my attention for now. Aussie dollar, again, a bit of back and forth here. Price has just been up and down, up and down. We have come back to some nice resistance this week, and we have seen some really nice reactions. Once over there towards the start of the week, and again on Wednesday, nice reaction. Nothing crazy though, and again, that was really a point I made across at the start of the week, that Aussie dollar is quite flat. I do think there's a likelihood for us to continue higher, because I'm looking at the weekly chart and looking at where all these wicks are positioned. I'm seeing a lot of wicks to the downside. You've been very corrective on the way up, so my initial impression for Aussie dollar was a drop lower, but we just haven't seen that, and instead of getting that momentum and that push lower, we've got a lot of wicks here to the downside. So it looks to me that price has found support, and perhaps is getting ready for another push back to resistance there. So I actually do have a slight bullish bias for Aussie dollar, but the market is still flat. So as I said at the start of the week, if we do push into resistance and reject well, I still think that's a smart place for a short. And likewise, if price does make a move back to resistance up here at 0.66200, I also think that's a smart place for a short. Again, not necessarily looking for big swings here, more so just looking to play reactions. You know, price is ranging, it's quite flat. We haven't really gone anywhere for the past couple of months now. So the plan is very much finding key areas, shorting from them, and then just seeing how far we could go, and managing the trades closely. Maybe you do catch a big move, maybe it's more of a shallow move. The market will have the final say in that. But yeah, if we are approaching resistance again, so naturally keeping an eye on some selling opportunities at that same level, 0.656. If we do rally through, great. We'll see what price can do here at 0.662. Looking for a similar move, a reaction off that area. Maybe it's a push into this low. Maybe it's a big sell-off. But we'll manage that as we go along. But for now, just looking to sell and buy off key areas. I like this area for long as well. New Zealand dollar, I've been speaking about the channel that price has been trading in. That's still very much where the focus is. Lower highs consistently, lower lows as well. At the start of the week, I did mention it would be nice to catch a short off the trend line, potentially to catch the next lower high. We've had the first test, the second test, the third, and perhaps we could get a fourth, but of course we didn't quite see that happen. We did test this supply zone, so that was a nice reaction, but I wanted to see price come into the trend line and reject it well, so we kind of got that layer of confluence building up. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but we could still see that setup occur. Price looks like it's having a lot of trouble around the middle of that range of the channel, and perhaps we could see a push back to resistance. If we could see that happen, then this is an area which, like I said, looks good for shorting opportunities. Of course, I would wait for price to react and see how price is trading at those levels, because if we don't see sufficient rejection, you would want to stay away. But let's say price gets there, finds some nice wicks, see some nice bearish candle closures, I think that's a great place for a short, and you could be looking for a push back to the swing low here, maybe even the low of the channel. So that's still very much an area of focus, an area to look for shorts. And if we do break to the upside, you can look for pullbacks and probably some nice breakout opportunities as well. But we can probably speak more about that when we actually get there. For now, that is still where the focus lies. As for gold again still showing signs of momentum. We are a little bit corrective this morning over here, so perhaps again we could still see a sell-off. I still like this area for a buy. Nice brief pause there, really strong shift of momentum, really strong candle as we can see. So it would be nice to see gold come back and retest that zone before continuing bullish, and perhaps even take out this wick low here. Maybe some early buyers do have some stops in that area, potentially go and take them out to continue. I think that looks like a nice prospect, a nice setup to entertain. On the lower time frames though, we are looking just a little bit flat. It looks like this supply zone to our left is well and truly finding resistance. We could still rally through this. Again, the selling opportunities are a bit aggressive for gold. Take into consideration how bullish we've been on the monthly, weekly, daily charts. The fact that we've just seen a big breakout here as well. So if you are shorting, be prepared to close the trade early and not kind of sit through momentum, because if the buys kick in at any point, we could very much see price skyrocket again and gold is not a market to be messing around, especially in these conditions. So I do understand the selling opportunities. I would say we're quite corrective now, so I would probably wait for maybe a break of a counter trend line for an entry to really show that momentum is now picked up for the sellers. If not, I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of just do something like that. And in terms of the opportunity we spoke out just a moment ago, I still like this as an area to buy. So if we do have that sell, great. Then we can speak about some longs around 3,500 for a buy. So that's still my plan of action with gold. And silver, very much a similar situation as to gold. Extremely bullish market, smashed through the highs recently. I still like some areas down here for some buys if we should get there. At the moment, this is our kind of a swing low area of demand, if you will. I can see potentially another sell-off before some continuations. I think that could be a nice trade on an hourly chart, 30-minute chart. This to me just looks like a corrective, retracement, as you would expect. At some point, price is not going to just continue forever. It's going to have its pullbacks, and this looks like a pullback to me. I'm not seeing any aggressive selling pressure or any significant break of structure to tell me that, okay, this is actually price reversing. So my impressions with silver is still very, very bullish market, still likely to continue, and it would be nice if we can pick some longs from support and potentially carry that back to highs and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's still where my focus is for silver. Keep an eye on this area here as well. We might even tap into that before continuing, just marking out key areas of demand and support where price potentially could rally from. For me, the market is still very bullish on numerous time frames, so it's just about kind of buying the dips and see if we can take it back to highs. So yeah, that's kind of where my impressions, my thoughts on the USD pairs lie as of pre NFP. Very bullish on gold, very bullish on silver, neutral on quite a few USD pairs. Apart from dollar CAD, I quite like the shorts. We'll see what happens with NFP. I won't be taking any entries before NFP anyway, so I'll wait till NFP to happen. Like I said, on the 8-hour chart, dollar CAD looks pretty good, so I'd wait for NFP to settle, do its thing, and then kind of reanalyze and go from there. And if things look good, I'll take some entries. Anyway, welcome to the stream, ladies and gents. Hope everyone's doing good. Yusuf, good morning. Hope you're well. I am doing good. Thank you. Hope you're doing good as well. Nazir, welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Vladone, dollar yen. Yes, we can take a look. Tony Gold, NFP. This is what we study for. 100%. This is where the fireworks come in. Yeah, I mean, with NFP, again, it's nothing special. It's just a big news event which could cause the market to move quite quickly, quite impulsively. And the key thing for me is managing risk, because especially if you're in the lower time frames, you can be exposed to a lot of risk, especially if you have very tight stop losses. Spreads can widen, you can get wicked out, you can get slipped. So you might be risking 1% on a position, but you might potentially walk away with a 3% loss if NFP is really aggressive and goes against you. So it's all about risk. And if you can manage the risk side of things, sometimes NFP is going to be for you, sometimes it's going to be against you. You can play the safe option and get out the market and only re-enter after the news is settled. There is, personal preference around it. Of course, with myself trading on the 4-hour chart, I'm not so concerned about getting out of trades early before NFP, because normally my stop loss is on the bigger side of things. Of course, there will be times where I still get stopped out and maybe slipped a little bit as well, but it's very, very minimal. And again, if I was to close all my trades before every major news event, I probably won't be swinging trades very far, because almost every week there is another major news event coming out. But yeah, just manage your risk. If you got that, sorted out, you generally have nothing to be fearful for NFP. It's just another news release that will give you, will give the market a lot of extra momentum, extra juice. But yeah, dollar yen we can take a look at, no problem. What's up, Bakati? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Bongani, welcome to the stream. Good morning. How's your yen looking? Okay, we can take a look at some of the yen pairs. First, I just want to share our perps platform, let you guys check it out. If you haven't checked it out, there is the link to the perps platform at the top of the chat. I have pinned it, but this is a project we've been working on for the past few months. It's a platform that will allow you to trade perps. At the moment, only cryptocurrencies are on the platform, but other markets, FX, indices, commodities will be coming to the platform, and you can all trade them on perps. You can connect your Solana or Ethereum wallet to the platform. Very easy to do, or you can use an email as well. So if you don't have a Solana or Ethereum wallet, you can use and register with your email, but I would recommend to go and get a Solana or Ethereum wallet to use. The platform allows you to trade as you would do with pretty much any kind of sufficient trading platform: buy, sell, manage positions, stop loss orders, take profit orders, add limit orders, stop orders, or you can imagine in terms of managing a position and entering trades. All the execution can be done from the platform itself. It does have an AI feature, which I'm really excited about. It allows you to analyze the market very quick fashion. It will give you risk sentiment, risk analysis. It will tell you potential setups on the 4-hour chart, or if there are no setups, it'll let you know that as well. And we are running a competition on the platform, so if you are interested to check it out, I'll drop the link to the Google form. You can just drop your email there if you are interested in participating. There will be rewards for the best performing traders. Again, it's just a bit of fun, guys. No pressure, just a bit of fun to get you trading with the platform, get you used to it. And of course, if you do well, you could win a prize. So if you are interested, go check it out. Drop your email in the form, and there will be more information regarding rules and parameters and prizes as well. So if you are interested, go check it out. And I do have a full video on my channel describing how to use the platform, a complete walkthrough as well. So if you are new to it, I recommend go listening to that video as well. So yeah, guys, we can go through dollar yen and euro yen for you, no problem. Dollar CHF, Aussie CAD looking like a breakout. We can take a look at those as well, no problem. So dollar yen, last time I had a look at this one, was still very much within a range, and I can imagine that is still the case. Although I must say, I do like the wicks I'm seeing on the daily chart. Actually, probably can, yeah, I'll probably keep it there. I do like the wicks I'm seeing on the daily chart. Really nice wicks there. 1, 2, even 3 yesterday as well. Really aggressive wicks to the upside, basically telling me that dollar yen is really struggling to break resistance. It looks like even if you extend the level across here, this high has proven to be a very significant level of resistance, and perhaps we could very much roll over from there. So I like where price is trading. I like where price is rejecting. I like how price is rejecting as well. To me, it looks like we can at least see a push back to the low of the range, and then we'll go from there, because perhaps we still do bounce and see price rally back again. Dollar yen is just a very flat market right now. So if you are going to trade dollar yen in these conditions, you're very much looking to sell at the high and buy at the low. No need to overcomplicate it more than that. If you're looking for entries, this is where you want to put your entries. You want to put stops, probably above the wick high will give you the most room and the most safety for that position. And targets, you're back at the low around 146.6, I would say is a healthy target as well. If, of course, price does close and break out of this area, that'll put an end to the range, and then we can start talking about a push back to the swing high at 150.779. So that's when I would become bullish on dollar yen. I have spoke about some buying opportunities down here, but of course, price just hasn't been near any of these areas, and we probably won't be for at least another couple of weeks, and that's even if we make that move down. So I'm not going to speak too much about that. If we get closer, sure. But for now, we're very much just stuck at the top end of this range. So for now, I do quite like the selling opportunities after seeing the wicks on the daily chart. Of course, we've had some aggressive wicks on the 4-hour as well and seen some nice momentum come into the market. But as long as we stay below this, the sells are valid. As long as we're not breaking the high of the channel, high of the range, the sells at the top are very much valid. And you're looking for a push back into the lows at 146.6. So if you're in trade now, or you're looking for a trade, that's the only opportunity I see. If you're waiting for breakouts and you're waiting for trending conditions, then of course you're waiting for price to clear something like that. Then once we're above this area, this will become support, and perhaps you can look for some breaking retest to continue the breakout, continue the momentum, and possibly target highs over there. So it's pretty black and white. Below the range you're shorting, above the range you're buying. It depends what conditions you like to trade or you're after. If you're happy trading ranging conditions, you got some shorts to consider there. If you are waiting for trending environments, trending conditions, then I would suggest not to get involved in these areas and wait for price to eventually get that breakout. But not much of an update on dollar yen. Again, another market which is ranging and perhaps waiting for NFP this afternoon to get the ball rolling. As for euro yen, this looks like we're slowly potentially breaking to the upside. I wouldn't say we are, because I would still say we're kind of trapped at resistance here, taking that higher cross. We haven't really seen a confident move above this area. So I wouldn't say we're breaking out, but momentum is still just about holding. Could probably even just box this price action off and call that a bit of a consolidation. And depending which way we break above that, do we see momentum above the highs here, or do we see momentum below the lows? That'll probably tell us what price is going to do in regards to this high. If price does, of course, see momentum above this, well, that would be a breakout. Then my plan would be looking for the next high low and looking for the continuation, because now we've got successive high lows, 1, 2, 3, and that would be the buy. I am still quite bullish on euro yen on the higher time frames. I still do think prices like to see a push to the high there at 175.237. And I do think price is still likely to get there. So if we were to see price continue higher, perhaps even take out these highs to our left, that'll prove to me that, okay, the bullish momentum is still alive, the trend is still continuing, and pullbacks is really where my focus would be. If, on the other hand, price does break to the downside through here, then it proves to me that price is still trapped within this range, and the next likely move will probably be a push back to the low of this range here. As we can see, equal highs, equal lows. If we do clear support here, well, my next expectation for euro yen would be a push to 171.248. So with euro yen, we are very congested here. So if you're looking for opportunities, I would suggest keep an eye on the breaks of this box. If price does commit higher, that proves that we're bullish. Yen pairs hopefully do start trending higher. If the other situation occurs and price does break support, then yeah, we are likely to push back to the low, and shorting either on the breakout of that or waiting for some intraday pullbacks could both be some nice opportunities to keep in mind. But euro yen for now, I would still say it's quite indecisive in terms of what the next move will be. I am still slightly bearish on the yen. I still do have that natural bearish bias for the yen. If we go take a look at the yen basket quickly, if I expand to the higher time frames, we do still have this natural bearish trend at play. You can see the continuous lower highs price has been printing. So as a result, naturally I'm going to be bearish. If of course price was to see a strong shift and a strong close like that, that would make me at least become neutral, but potentially change my bias to bullish. But for now, we are still obeying the trend to the downside and we'll continue with the lower highs. But as of now, we are quite flat. So even though yen is still quite bearish, we haven't necessarily seen a lot of momentum. The market has been quite flat. It has been ranging. And for us to well and truly see momentum continue, we do need to break through the floor, or of course, break through the high if we're looking for a reversal. So for now, yen, I still am slightly bearish on this one, but we're just lacking momentum, and we're probably seeing signs on that for euro yen and the other yen pairs as well. So I would suggest just keep an eye on that range. Depending which way you break out, will provide a lot of clarity for the next big swing. Dollar CHF for Aussie CAD, we can take a look at, looking like a breakout, no problem. Frauders, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Gold on NFP today, would it be buy or sell? Again, I'm not going to suggest buy the market before NFP or sell the market before NFP, because you're just gambling at the end of the day, really. It's a 50-50 gamble, so it's not that bad of a gamble, really. But again, you are just trying to predict the market there, which is not something you can rely on. If you can go back test NFP and record certain scenarios, what happens with NFP, and try and build up data and a pattern behind that, then of course you got an edge. Then you can trade that. There are people who do take advantage of NFP like that. They will go and back test every NFP event for the past like 5 years and develop some data and some patterns based on that and some tradable setups from it. Me expecting market to be bullish or bearish is just my best guess, really, and that's not something I would suggest you should go and trade. NFP, I'm very much just waiting to see what happens, and then that will hopefully provide some more light into what USD is going to do. I'm very bullish for gold, so I'm only looking to buy the market. But again, I wouldn't suggest sell it before NFP or buy it. That's just gambling at the end of the day, and I wouldn't advise that. Yusuf, question on correlation, okay. Yeah, simply because of yen. Yusuf. Correlation is not always black and white. Correlation is like a percentage. Sometimes the correlation is at like 70%, sometimes it's at 90%, sometimes it's 100%, and sometimes it'll be below 50, and you might even see price do the opposite of what you would expect it to do. So don't treat correlation as black and white or absolutes. It comes and goes, and it will come and go with, it will come and go in terms of its strength as well. Sometimes the correlation will be very, very strong. Sometimes it won't be that strong. And dollar yen, of course, it will take into account what the yen is doing. And sometimes yen and USD are quite equal in strength and weakness, which is why dollar yen sometimes does chop around a little bit more than some other yen pairs and other USD pairs. But again, if you look at pound yen has been quite flat as well, and that will show you that pound and yen are quite equal, and USD has been quite flat as well, so hence you kind of got a bit of a range with dollar yen, and you got a bit of a range with pound USD as well, and the DXY too. But but the DXY isn't necessarily bearish either. Yusuf. I know on the morning the DXY has been bearish. We are seeing a bit of a move down there, but in context, the market's quite flat. And you're kind of seeing that same situation with dollar yen as well. If we go to take a look at dollar yen, for the morning, we have been relatively bearish, but not quite. But you are seeing in the bigger picture, dollar yen being flat. And if you look at the DXY, you're literally looking at the same thing. The market's being flat. So you're not always going to see tick for tick, pip for pip. The market's going to do exactly what the correlation expects. Like I said, correlation comes and goes. It's a bit more like a percentage, sometimes at 50, sometimes at 90. And of course, the yen will have its say. And if the yen is doing something different, it's going to affect the price of dollar yen. Likewise with pound as well. Looking at the yen itself, the yen looks pretty weak this morning, or at least the past 8 hours of price action, we've seen a bit of a drop. So you've got yen falling, you've got USD falling. As a result, it's kind of cancelling each other out on the dollar yen's price action. Whereas pound has been slightly stronger than the yen. Of course, in the grand scheme of things, it is still ranging. So we are still seeing flat price action. But if you look at the current day, we've pushed up there as well. So pound's just been slightly stronger than the yen. USD and yen are equal strength right now, which is why they're kind of cancelling each other out. Pound's been a bit stronger, which is why pound USD has seen some upside. But like I said, you don't want to get too caught up in that, because that's just the natural fluctuation in the market. Pound USD looks quite bullish right now. That could change this afternoon. Maybe yen sees a bit of strength, and we see a bit more of a discretion between dollar and the yen. So you don't want to get too caught up on that, because that's just natural fluctuations of the market. And also, don't follow correlation to the pip. It's more like a general assumption. So yeah, don't get too caught up in that, because it's not going to move exactly how you would expect it to. Anyway, let's go through dollar CHF and Aussie CAD. So yeah, USDC interesting. We were talking about some shorts from this area, and they have played out pretty well, I would say. Really nice rejection off the high. Now prices move back into support. It hasn't been a massive move, of course, but I did say trade this area with caution yesterday. It's been a really nice level of resistance. Price has been really consistent with these lower highs. 1, 2, 3, kind of 4, maybe with a double top there. We've got this counter trend line in play as well. So I like this area because not only are we lining up well with the trend line, but price is rejecting key resistance. And of course, we've seen a nice rejection at that level. The market is, of course, continuous with these lower highs, so we are in somewhat of a bearish trend, but it is very, very corrective. So I would be very cautious with looking for a big sell. It's not like the trend is flowing well, and we're seeing a lot of momentum and prices ripping through lows. That is not quite the case here. Price is very, very stagnant. Price is taking out lows, yes, but very, very correctively, and then snapping back to the upside very quickly afterwards. So yes, I would be bearish here for dollar CHF, looking for shorts, yeah, at these areas here, but I wouldn't necessarily be banking on a push back to lows. A market which is as corrective as this normally does mean we'll probably break to the upside. Corrective markets like this normally do end up doing that. Of course, not 100% of the time, but most of the time we do end up breaking high. So dollar CHF is really corrective, but still obeying structure, still obeying lower highs. So this is really where you want to find your entries. If you're not in a trade for dollar CHF, then I would suggest you want to see price rally back to resistance. And again, look for rejections there to find an entry, looking for a similar move, at least back into support. Then maybe if we're lucky, if things look good, maybe we can take it back to the lows there as well. Maybe even some new lows as well. But for the most part, dollar CHF is really corrective. So we're looking to pick the highs and just be cautious with the management of things with that trade. Not looking for a home run because the conditions aren't quite backing that at the moment. And as long as price stays with these lower highs, stays rejecting these areas, I would stay bearish. If I do see a rally which breaks to the upside, that would put an end to my bearish bias. But for now, that isn't the case. And like I said, if you are looking for entries, you do want price to revisit that level. If, of course, you're ready in a trade, then great. But if you are looking to short, I would wait for price to push back into resistance. Then you've got a couple of targets there to choose from. So that would be my take on dollar CHF. But yeah, I'm not quite seeing a breakout there. You suggested a breakout. Unless you're talking about a breakout to the upside, which you're looking for. In that case, yeah, I can see that happening as well. You just want to stay patient for that. Maybe NFP might have a say this afternoon in that move. But yeah, if you are looking for that breakout, I definitely can see that happening. And there could be some nice opportunities on the breakout or looking for some pullbacks shortly afterwards. But it's a game of patience. It's a game of patience because price could still head lower. Price might still consolidate for a few more days. But yeah, if price does break to the upside, I do like the opportunity. And you could be looking at a push all the way back to highs around 0.816. So keep an eye for the breakout, but definitely not here yet. So don't look to jump the gun until we can get that, that confidence, that confirmation that we are clearing resistance. Aussie CAD as well, I believe still trading at resistance, but perhaps we are kind of teasing the idea of a breakout. I'm still looking at this area as our resistance. We've rejected this area on a few occasions. 1, 2, 3, 4. So far, a 5th time there as well. So this is definitely a key level of resistance, but it does look like price is getting ready for a breakout, especially with the continuous higher lows price has been printing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, could argue 6 there as well. So it looks to me that price is kind of squeezing between resistance and this trend line, so forming some type of wedge pattern, which typically does mean price is likely to break to the upside. And if that is the case, this would be the next major target. So I can see price breaking to the upside for Aussie CAD as well. I do agree there's some breakout opportunities on the cards for both of those pairs, dollar CHF and Aussie CAD. Not quite here yet, but maybe in the next few days they might actually start to develop really, really well. And in terms of opportunities, there's 2 ways to go about it. If you are looking to trade a breakout, either buying on the breakout or waiting for price to clear the level, look for some type of pullback, maybe even a retest of the same area, then some buys to the next target makes the most sense, or wherever the recent swing high is. So Aussie CAD, dollar CHF, I can definitely see the breakouts you're referring to. It looks like those are going to be the likely moves as well. But it's just a game of patience, because maybe price does reject this area and maybe we do come back down. So let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. But sure, if we do see some strong candle closures clearing those levels, I do think the buys make a lot of sense, whether you are looking for breakouts or you're looking for break and retest opportunities. But yeah, I do agree. No problem, Yusuf. Happy to help. Savvy, yes, Euro Aussie on the hourly chart. We can take a look, no problemo. So, Euro Aussie, that's been very, very choppy recently, especially on the hourly chart. From a daily perspective, I'm just looking at this as equal highs, equal lows, and I'm kind of looking for price to get back to support again for perhaps another bounce. Dropping to the 4-hour chart, I'm sort of looking at this as a head and shoulder pattern as well. There's your left, there's your head, and there's your right shoulder. I can see price doing something like that, and of course this being your neckline. It's not the cleanest of trends, it's not really well positioned at the top of a trend, but the way I see it, price is consolidated, rallied, taken out highs, dropped really aggressively, giving us that inverse V-shaped pattern, and now I'm expecting us to continue lower. So I do expect us to return back to support for Euro Aussie. On the hourly chart, I can imagine this looks really congested. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. If I was looking for any opportunity here, it would be a pushback to resistance, then trying to see if I can catch a rejection off that area, because at least from this area, I would be more or less happy with having some stop losses above the high. I would suggest that would be a safe place. Stop loss anywhere around these areas looks really, really exposed and likely to get taken out on unnecessary moves. So if we can see a pushback to resistance, staying in tune with the direction of the market, the fact that we are coming back to resistance where we could see that right shoulder form, like I said, left, head, possible right shoulder, and then maybe we see a push towards the neckline again, and maybe even break through. So if you are looking to trade Euro Aussie on the hourly chart, this is where my focus would be, because yes, we do have somewhat of a bearish trend, but we are starting to flatten out and we are losing momentum. So waiting for price to push the extremes right at resistance where we formed the last lower high would be a smart place for a short, provided we see some healthy confirmations, healthy entry signals. That would be a nice place for a short. Stops above the high, maybe targets back at the low here as well, or you can have some maybe intermediate targets around here if we do rally from there. So yeah, that's kind of where I do see Euro Aussie heading. Really choppy conditions, so again, want to position yourself well in the market, and back at resistance there, I would suggest will be the best place for it. Trying to investigate, look for opportunities within this mess here. You kind of just putting yourself in harm's way, really, due to the fluctuation of how the market's trading. I don't think that would be an optimal place to be looking for any type of entries, whether you're looking to buy, sell, or anything really. Up at the highs or even down at the lows is where you find a better opportunity, in my opinion. But Euro Aussie, I do still see more downside for this one. And I'm still expecting a push to 1.772 in the next few days. As for current positions I'm in, I'm still in Aussie Yen. That one, I've still trailed my stops. It did come pretty close to taking me out the position, but not quite. And we did see some strength this morning, so things are looking okay. I'm not completely out the woods yet with this position, because we still do, of course, have resistance to our left over here. And, price is still rejecting that and still very much could continue to reject that. And, didn't mean to do that. And could take me out the position. Could very much take me out the position, which I'm perfectly fine doing. The plan for the trade was looking for the continuation back to the high. So, by my standards, the trade's actually played out pretty well. I'm just looking to see if I can look for a bit more of a bonus to the position, if we can break through the highs and continue the trend further. If I scale to the daily chart, the reason why I did buy it is because we do have this uptrend here, which I'm simply looking for the continuation of, and possibly a push back to resistance here could be a bit more of a long-term play. So all I'm trying to do is just squeeze what left I have of the position. We've seen a really lovely swing to get back to highs. The market's done a good job at doing that. Now, is the market likely to continue? Maybe. If it is, hopefully I'll be there for it, trading my stops below the lows. If we are going to tire and start to roll over, I'll stop out and take what I have there. But that is the only position I have at the moment. Nothing else has quite tickled my fancy just yet. I've kept a lookout on the yen pairs. Nothing's really positioned well, simply because the yen has been very flat. USD as well. Although dollar CAD perhaps could provide opportunity this afternoon, depending on the 8-hour chart, how that does close. If it does close well, I will like the shorts, but a lot can happen, so I'm not going to go too much into detail with the entry because we do have NFP this afternoon, and this candle's looking nicely bearish at the moment. It could pull back and leave a massive wick to the downside, or it could look even more bearish, of course. But the analysis will be more useful closer to when that candle is closing, whilst NFP has been printed into the market and everything's settled. But I am looking essentially for the retest of this level for a short. And at the moment, that would be my favorite opportunity which I'm focusing on the most. Gold and silver, probably a close second and third in terms of just looking for buys, looking for pullbacks, but there's nothing quite there yet. So, and I kind of have a feeling that gold might just rally from here. So looking for a bit more downside for gold. Hopefully we can see a push back into 3,500, and likewise with silver, hopefully see a push back down into 40.4, 40. Those two areas I'm quite liking. This area as well is quite a deep pullback, so even if we do get there, it won't be until next week, maybe even the week after potentially. These two areas potentially could be tested today if NFP does give us a push lower, probably more so early next week, but those are definitely areas which I'm keeping a close eye on for some buys and looking to take price back to highs. But those three pairs are really where my focus is at: dollar CAD, gold, silver. New Zealand CAD's been interesting. Pound NZD's been interesting as well. And that's about it. I haven't really had many opportunities at the moment. I would say the past couple of weeks have been a little bit drier in the market in terms of opportunities. Yeah, and again, that's the reality of trading. Sometimes you have opportunities coming out of your ear and you've got 6 or 7 opportunities to choose from. And sometimes there's nothing and you kind of have to sit in your hands. Pavinator, what's up, my man? Hope you're doing good. Yep. I'm interested to see what happens tonight with MP. Yeah, and unemployment rate. Yeah, that's where the focus will be, especially for the USD pairs now. Aussie dollar seeing some strength, pushing back up again. USD a little bit weak as well, so that's helping it out. But we have made a nice move back to resistance. Now it's up to the market to see if we can respect that level or break through. Again, my analysis and my take on Aussie dollar hasn't changed. I see it still as a very flat market right now, not really trending. You could argue there's a slight uptrend, but it's so slight I probably would just call it consolidation, really. So I'm not seeing much of a trend here for Aussie. So the way I'm looking to trade it or looking to analyze it is just looking at the key levels of resistance, key levels of support, and looking for reactions of those areas. When the market is flat, you do see support and resistance do play out pretty well, because of course we're flat. We're not really seeing any direction. So the likelihood of price bouncing off resistance or bouncing off support is a lot greater. When you do have a very aggressively trending market, well, these are the conditions where resistance could definitely very much break, because you've got all that force with the trend. Likewise with support, if we're heading down, you've got all that force with the trend. Support may not hold in those conditions. But when we're flat and we're not really seeing much consistency with price, yeah, resistance and support will do a good job and will likely hold. And that's the conditions we've got right now with Aussie dollar. We've got a very flat market. So levels like these, levels like these, levels like these will have a higher probability of holding price. Again, not necessarily looking for a crazy move or a crazy reversal, but you're likely to catch at least a reaction of these areas. And potentially those can turn into big swings, and that's where your management comes in. But at least looking for entries off these areas. And I remember you mentioning 0.662 I think that's still a great place for a short. Let's say if we do break through this area, let's say NFP is very bullish and we do crack through that zone, this is where the next key level would be, and that's where I'd keep an eye out for some shorts. And for some longs, it would be down here, back at the lows here, a couple really nice reactions, 1 and 2. If we get there again, I do think there'll be a good chance for another bounce. Maybe not as aggressive, maybe even more aggressive, but those are the areas which we're likely to see price move from. And another piece of advice or information to bear in mind is to stay away from the middle, because that's where all the noise is, that's where all the fluctuation is. And you don't want to be looking for entries and placing stop losses in those areas, because that's where you'll probably get wicked out with a random move somewhere. Before price heads in your direction, you're going to experience a lot more of that in the middle. Of course, I'm not saying that shorting from these levels or buying from these levels, you'll be immune to that and you will have 100% win rate. Absolutely not. But you do put the probability a little bit in your favor. Price has to work a little bit harder to take your stop in these areas where price fluctuates a lot. A random wick taking out your stop is not. The market barely has to break a sweat to do that. At least make the market work hard to take your stop by placing it above key areas when of course we are ranging. But for now, Aussie dollar, the focus is what we do at this level here. Perhaps we do reject it really well. There could be some shorts this afternoon to keep in mind, and likewise with the high over there as well. And of course, if you do get back to support, that would interest me. But for the time being, we're really flat, and yeah, just waiting for NFP to do the honors. Dre, New Zealand yen, yes, we can take a look at, no problem. So New Zealand yen's been quite interesting because Aussie yen has been absolutely flying to the upside, and New Zealand yen has been very slow and corrective, and we're actually looking quite bearish. So there's a big contrast between Aussie yen and New Zealand yen, which normally that isn't the case. They're very similar pairs, but New Zealand yen has been in a pretty established bearish trend. And so has Aussie yen, but recently we've seen a breakout of that and price push back to highs. Not quite the case here with New Zealand yen. But anyway, in terms of opportunities, I would suggest sells look good at this moment in time. Not necessarily with entry confirmations. I would suggest wait for that. But in terms of how we're trading, where we're located, I do think sells look pretty good here. Coming back into a very nice area of supply, which spat out all of this momentum. So this is a pretty considerable area where we've seen a sharp reaction from. You can see how corrective we are. It looks to me that price is still respecting this counter trend line here. Maybe waiting for a break of that could be a nice for an entry. A strong break of that counter trend line shows that momentum is, with the bears, the buyers that are holding us above support, aka the trend line, are not holding price anymore. That could be a nice entry, and that could take you back to lows. So I like where price is trading. You got the confluence with the trend line. You got the confluence with the supply zone. I would probably suggest that we're probably coming to the 50% at the very least. Yeah, we've tagged into the 0.618, so naturally a very healthy retracement anyway. So New Zealand yen to me is ticking a lot of boxes, and I quite like the momentum we've seen with these bearish legs, really commanding decisive momentum. So really showing that the trend has had some higher time frame. Not higher time frame, had some big backing from bigger players in the market. It's not like a very corrective move down. So I like all of those confluences, all those layers for the short. The one thing that's lacking is just a good entry signal to back up the trade. We've seen some strength this morning. We're approaching resistance again. Maybe price lines up a nice double top, and maybe we sell off from there. Potentially. If of course price does continue to rally and breaks through the zone and breaks through the trend line, then of course we'll put that short bias to one side. Maybe price is going to break higher. But if you are looking for a sell, I do think we are at a healthy place for that. The only thing missing now is a good confirmation. So I would suggest keep an eye on that double top, keep an eye on the break of the counter trend line. Both of those areas, both of those patterns could be really nice opportunities to take a trade, and targets back at the swing low make the most sense. So hopefully that makes sense on New Zealand yen. Euro CAD, Morgan, no problem. We can take a look. No problem, Drake. Happy to help. So in terms of Euro CAD, yeah, Euro CAD's interesting. Euro CAD looks like the trend is just going to continue. We do have a pretty established uptrend, but I have been quite skeptical of this trend because of where we're trading on the monthly chart. You can see major resistance. Previous month's candle did leave behind a bit of a wick. Still closed bullish, but did leave behind a bit of a wick. So showing signs that we were trying to break out, but didn't quite have enough juice to make that happen. And as a result, we did pull back slightly. So we could see a repeat of that this month. Price, of course, is looking bullish. The month has just started, but we might rally for maybe the first quarter or the first half of the month and then start to pull back potentially. We could even get a breakout as well. We'll see how the candle does close. But just keep in mind, we are trading at significant resistance. The previous times we've been at these areas, we've seen some really big moves down. Of course, maybe this is the time we do break out. But if we do see some strength, some rejection here, be prepared that the trend could very much reverse. So keep that in mind. But we also have to trade what's in front of us, which is still a very strong uptrend. We have been seeing higher highs and higher lows here. Price has been obeying this trend line really well. I would suggest if we do eventually get the break of that trend line, that's going to be the key confirmation that will confirm to us that the trend is changing direction, and we could be seeing a big drop. I would suggest as price stays above this trend line, the buyers are still very much in control of the market. And if I look at the 4-hour chart, it looks like they're still in control in the 4-hour as well. I would suggest that we are in a bit of a range here. So I wouldn't get too excited with this bullish momentum because we are just approaching resistance. But a key aspect to point out is the strength of this bearish candle and the fact that it just came into support and price just reversed pretty aggressively afterwards. If price was really prepared to sell off, this bearish candle probably would have kick-started a nice bearish move. But the fact is, despite all that selling pressure, support held, and we flipped bullish pretty aggressively, I do think price is probably forming some type of bottom here to perhaps rally back to highs. Now, in terms of confirmations to actually trade that, there's two ways to go about it. You could either wait for price to break above resistance and take an entry off the back of that, because that proves to you that this is a double bottom. Price is breaking the neckline of the pattern, and the breakout shows that momentum is back with the buyers clearing resistance. You're expecting price to continue, but taking the breakout there might put you in an awkward place in terms of your stop loss. So if you really want to refine the stop loss, what you could do is wait for the breakout and look for the retest of the level or some type of intraday pullback at some stage, and that will allow you to really refine the entry, have some stops below that area, and really kind of maximize your risk reward back to the high whilst still very much taking advantage of the same opportunity. The only downside of this is that sometimes you don't always get the retest after a breakout. I would say it's about 60% of the time you will probably see a pullback, especially in FX markets. Maybe 45% of the time you won't get the pullback, or you'll get the pullback much later. So that's one thing to bear in mind. The breakout pretty much guarantees you an entry and guarantees you to take advantage of the move. But like I said, stop loss placement, risk reward might not necessarily be the best. So it depends how you want to take advantage of that. But yeah, I see the market potentially pushing through resistance here. Again, you still want to wait for price to close. I say that I do expect price to break resistance, but at the end of the day, we're waiting for price to break resistance. So it doesn't really matter what I think is going to happen, because we very much could reject this area and could see price come straight back down as well. So wait for price to give us the indication of what it wants to do. If we do see a strong close like that, then yeah, the buys are very much in. If price starts forming some wicks here and rejects well, then the shorts are still very much valid. All we are doing is ranging. You're shorting at the high of the range. So wait for price to give us that green light, whether for the buys or the sells. But if we are going to get the buys, I do think we will push back to the highs there. Morgan, is it good to sell from that resistance? Yeah. If price does reject well, it's definitely good to sell from that resistance. You can see price had some really nice wicks over here. Nice push down, nice rejection, nice push down. So definitely it's a nice place to sell from. but I wouldn't say we've got the answer just yet if price is going to sell. We've just gone and hit that area. Now we need to see adequate rejection wicks, bearish engulfing candles to show us that momentum is failing at the highs and the sellers are likely to push price down. We need that green light before jumping in, because right now we're just seeing strength, which could insinuate a breakout. So yes, shorts do make sense from here, but wait for price to invite you into the trade, and avoid entering too early with not much information if price is going to break or reject that level. But in terms of location, yeah. Lost and scattered. Gold, please. No problem. We can take a look at gold. No problem, Morgan. Happy to help. So yeah, as I mentioned with gold, still very bullish on this one. If you want me to take a look at gold intraday, I mean, I can look at gold intraday. But if there are any markets you want me to take a look at intraday, because of course most of my analysis is on the 4-hour chart, but if you're a bit more intraday, let me know as well. I can take a look intraday. But gold, at least for my analysis anyway, I'm still very much bullish. All I'm seeing is a massive breakout, a lot of momentum, price at all-time highs. Sure, at some stage we're going to expect a pullback. At some stage gold's not going to rally forever. But at the same time, I don't want to be the person trying to short gold to try and anticipate a pullback and see gold continue to rally as price has been doing for the past 2 years pretty much. So yeah, I wouldn't want to be doing that. If of course we do see adequate structure and some low lows and low highs start to form momentum, then yeah, we can take gold to the downside. But in this stage with this momentum, yeah, only thing I want to be doing really in terms of the bigger trade anyway is taking some buys. Of course, intraday there might be some nice selling opportunities for the short term, but any long-term meaningful swing, you really want to be looking for the buys. We are testing a nice supply zone, which of course price is consolidating at, which perhaps could actually give us a nice sell. I did suggest earlier, be a nice break of this counter trend line, could be a nice entry for a short, and just look to take it back to this area. And this is where I'm looking to buy from. So I actually want that short to take place, not only because I want to buy from lower down, but I'm also seeing price action that does resemble the market's quite tight anyway. So I do think we can see a push down. But yeah, the bigger move for gold, I still do see that coming back to highs and further. The next big psychological level for gold will be 3,600, which is not too far away. And I do think price can eventually hit that. But it depends on your time horizon, depends what you're looking for. If you are looking to short, we are at an interesting place for it. I would say if you're on like a 15 or a 5-minute chart, you could even wait for another rally back into resistance, wait for some rejection at the highs here, then perhaps take some shorts back into the low. Or if you're waiting for momentum, waiting for a swing, you could wait for the break of the counter trend line and then look for entries there, and that could take you back to the lows. But yeah, if you're looking for buys, this will be the place for it. Nice supply zone, really nice momentum there with that bullish candle. I do think price can see a lot of continuation. And yeah, hopefully back to highs and further. Okay, Ricardo, what's up? Okay, I mean, you don't need to, no need to apologize, Ricardo. I'm not doing anything wrong. Again, feel free to ask questions. Don't need to apologize. That's what the chat is for. This is very much an interactive stream. I'm discussing with you guys as well. It's not just myself mumbling on the chart. So don't be afraid to ask questions or ask for requests. But good question. Process deciding whether to buy or sell. Well, the process in deciding to buy or sell basically comes to my bias on the pair and where price is trading. For example, if there's an uptrend in the market, then most of the time I'm looking to a buy. I'm naturally looking to try and continue that trend. But it does depend where we are within the trend on a couple different on a couple of different perspectives. Number one, is price just creating new highs, or is price having a pullback into structure, into areas of support, areas of demand, trend line, so on and so forth. Depending what phase we're in, at the high or at the low, will dictate whether I'm looking to buy or sell. Sometimes I will take some counter trend moves. If price does create a new high, I can potentially look to short moves here, more of an aggressive trade, but I wouldn't be looking to buy as price creates new highs, because my impression would be, okay, a pullback's likely to happen. So in terms of deciding where to buy or sell, number one, the direction of the market plays a big role. So in this case, we've got a bullish market, so most of the time I'm looking to buy. But like I said, where we're trading within that trend is also going to play a role. If we're at the highs here, I'm not going to be looking to buy despite that we're in a bullish trend. But if we are in a pullback coming to key areas, then yes, I'm going to buy. And same thing with a bearish trend. If we're making lower lows and lower highs, in this situation, as price creates new lows, I'm not looking to sell anymore. If we do pull back up into structure, then yeah, I'm looking to sell. So keep an eye on location, keep an eye on direction. If of course the market is flat and is not trending anywhere, then I'm very focused at the highs and lows. This is where I want to sell, this is where I want to buy, and in the middle of that is where I want to stay away and do nothing, or unless manage my trade if I'm in a position. But these are the areas which I'm looking to sell and buy from. So I'm very much looking to buy and sell where areas are likely to reverse and continue a trend or continue the swing of a range. I'm not trying to get in the middle of anything. I'm trying to kind of not necessarily call the bottoms or tops, but buy near the bottoms, buy near the tops, because that's naturally where you're going to capitalize on a big swing trade, as the swing is starting, not whilst the swing is already halfway done or most of the way done. So in terms of whether I'm looking to buy and sell, direction and location are the two key areas which will determine that. So are we bullish? Are we bearish? Are we sideways? And then secondly, where are we located within those trends, all those ranges. That in a nutshell basically sums up whether I'm looking to buy or sell. For example, this gold market we're seeing right now, of course, very, very bullish, creating new highs. I do want it to pull back now to come back to more of a discount, more to areas where other buyers will be looking to enter the market, potentially maybe some sellers looking to exit as well. This is where I'm looking to try and find some buying opportunities. As price pushes up, this is not the time to be looking to buy, because you've already seen an up move here. If I drop to the hourly chart, you probably see it better. You've already seen most of an up move, a strong up move. Doesn't mean price can't continue higher, but we've already seen a push. Price is now looking fairly tired. I'd rather price go down, make a move against the trend, maybe take out some lows, and this is where I want to pick up some longs to continue that larger trend on the higher time frame. So yeah, hopefully that made sense. Yusuf. Okay, wasn't really optimal just to test the trend line. Yeah. Again, don't let trend lines deceive you. Trend lines are good. They're powerful patterns in the market, but do really take into account what type of structure the trend line is supporting. Sometimes you get some really aggressive trends like this, and you get a nice trend line. So if price does pull back into the trend line, that's something that I would be happy to follow, because there's a lot of momentum. The trend is still healthy. All the trend line's doing there is just providing confidence for the trade. Maybe I'm also testing some structure. Maybe there's a couple of other reasons which I want to get long. Of course, I'm not saying 100% of the time it will bounce, but this is something I like to trade. If things are really, really corrective like this, so even despite we've got a trend line here, you want to be keeping that short and sweet, because a corrective market normally means we're eventually going to do that most of the time. So if you are going to look to buy the lows in this type of corrective pattern, sure, you can still take the buys there, because again, we're likely still to bounce. But be prepared that price could have that downturn, and be prepared to close the trade early if it looks like we're going to have it sooner than expected. So if we go back to the 50-minute for gold, you can kind of see we do have that really corrective structure. So this is something where I'm expecting price to chop around and eventually do something like that. Of course, we are going against higher time frame momentum. So I wouldn't say the confidence is or the probability of us doing that extremely high, because gold is still bullish and we naturally could see price continue higher. But because of how corrective we are, this doesn't give me confidence that, okay, I'm just expecting this just to glide to the upside and continue and make a move to the upside. I'll be fully prepared to see something like this happen. So buying off the low of the trend line is still a good trade, but it's a trade which I'll be heavily paying attention to, because we're just not seeing strength to the upside anymore. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do make a move back to resistance and price comes straight back down. But yeah, the buys do make sense as well. It's just conditions not really showing much momentum. The market looks quite tired. So I'm going to take all of that into consideration for the trade and for the management of it. No problem, lost and scattered, happy to help. Remy, okay, take profit 3558, which would be, let me drop to the hourly chart. 3558. That would be around there-ish, back at the high. Yeah, I think that's a pretty reasonable target. Back to resistance. Of course, you got NFP to think about, because that is ticking closer and closer by the minute. It's about 2 hours and 14 minutes, 13 minutes roughly. So will we get to that level in the next 2 hours and 13 minutes? Maybe. If we don't, if we're still hovering around current price, maybe pulling that trade a little bit early and getting out might be a smart move, because I would say, especially how corrective we're looking, gold is screaming for a push up or push down, just to sweep out a bunch of liquidity. Of course, in which direction, I don't know, but especially when things are really congested like this and we've got a big event coming in the next couple of hours, it could get ugly. It could be in your favor. I'm not going to say that it won't be, but it could be against you as well. So I would suggest, if we're still at current price or more or less around there in the next 2 hours, pulling the trade could be a smart idea, or maybe managing it somehow and you're taking off a big chunk or moving stops to break even, however you want to manage it, just to protect that downside, because we are looking very, very flat and it looks like gold is just waiting for NFP really at this point. Just joined. What do you think of US 30 on NFP? Okay, I can take a look at US 30 for you. Limitless, what's up? Okay, nice. Okay, cool. I mean, again, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of the market structure on gold in terms of what I'm seeing at the moment. It looks really, really corrective to me. Yes, I would still be naturally bullish bias, because we are still maintaining the higher lows, but we are really respecting this supply zone to our left, and that does worry me with how many rejections we are seeing. So as we maintain these higher lows, sure, we could still see another bounce to the upside, but that's about it. That's all I would be looking for. Maybe price does rally through that. Maybe NFP is going to come out bearish for USD, or for whatever reason bullish for gold, and maybe do fly. But in terms of the price action, we are looking really, really tired right now. So I would be quite cautious with the management of things and being prepared to maybe step aside if we continue to consolidate and we're going into NFP, or if momentum potentially picks up against me. But yeah, we still are just about consistent with these higher lows. I still do think we can reach resistance, but I will be a bit careful. Ricardo, yeah. Before we take a trade, yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I trade a lot of markets. I trade about 30, 31 pairs. So in terms of a pair itself, yes, I could be waiting days for it to develop, because trading the 4-hour chart, it's not going to happen overnight. So yes, you could be waiting days for develop, but because I trade a lot of markets, there's normally always a pair that's about to set up. Normally I get 2-3 opportunities a week on average between those 30 pairs I'm trading on the 4-hour setup. Sometimes a lot more, sometimes I might get nothing. but on average around that kind of ballpark, 2 to 3. So yes, you are waiting days for an individual pair to actually set up, but because of the amount of markets I'm looking at, there's always something around the corner about to develop, about to set up. And of course, as you said, patience is definitely something you want to adopt, because if you're rushing into anything, even as a scalper, even as someone who trades a lot of high frequency opportunities, you need patience for that as well, because you need to wait for the opportunity to arise. You don't want to be getting in before that. And no matter what setup, no matter what style you're trading, if you're getting in before the setup is actually valid, it's not going to end well in the long run. So yes, confirmations are important as well. I do need to back up the reason for the trade as well. So location and direction is important, but you do need something to trigger into your position. I keep it very simple and just use candlestick patterns, bullish engulfing patterns, wicks, kind of a combination of that is what I'm looking for to back up an entry. But a lot of the hard work is done with the analysis, is done with the location, building up the confluences. The entry for me is just very, very simple, just to trigger you into the market to suggest that, okay, price is bouncing off an area you've been looking at and is now likely to head in your direction. That's the trigger I'm looking for, really. But candlestick patterns is really what I rely upon for entry triggers. Reach my daily loss, let me wait. Yeah, especially with NFP coming out, I would hold off. Anyway, US 30, yes, we can take a look at. If I have missed out a pair, let me know, but I don't think I have yet. US 30 we can go through next. No problem, Remy, happy to help. Which currency is best in NFP? Depends what you're looking for, to be honest. If you're looking for violence, if you're looking for speed, if you're looking for drama, I'll probably say maybe pound yen. Yeah, pound yen can definitely pack a punch, or maybe dollar yen. Dollar yen could pack a punch. If you're looking for something a bit more measured, a little bit quieter, but still could definitely pack a punch, Euro USD is a good pair. Euro USD is probably the better one because it mimics the DXY the most. They're pretty much the inverse of each other. So if you've got a good understanding of what the DXY is going to do next, simply trading the Euro USD in the opposite direction could be a really nice opportunity. But if you're looking for noise, pound yen can definitely give you that. Dollar yen can definitely give you that as well. Anywho, let's go take a look at the Dow Jones. So US 30, yeah, I really like the momentum. I really like what I saw yesterday. Really nice push to the upside. Again, the key thing for US 30 is price staying above support. We broke through this resistance level a couple of weeks back with this gigantic candle here. And the key thing for me was price staying above this level, because if we did come crashing back down, then all of this would have been for nothing. I would have viewed this as a big fake out. I would have viewed this as a big fake out and then look for continuations back down again. But that's not the case. Price rejected support. Lovely wicks to the downside. All of this resistance is now turned support and a very nice continuation. Of course, we're back at resistance now. Looks like we're stuck a little bit. But let's say if you did find some entries here for a long, you're looking good back at resistance. You can take some partials off, close some positions, maybe trail stops to break even, and then just see what's going to happen with the news this afternoon. Maybe price does rally for you. Maybe price comes crashing back down. Either which way, you've already locked off some nice gains there. You still walk away with a profit, so it's a win-win. As of now, what would I be looking to do with US 30? Well, I still would be bullish on this market. For me to be bearish, as I said, does need to crack below support. That way, I would be bearish and look at this as a big fake out. So I'm only interested in buys. So if I was looking to find opportunities for US 30, it would either be breakout opportunities above this level, or price pushing back into the low here again and trying to find some longs off that low. Those are the only two opportunities I see. Can speak for a second there. Only two opportunities I can see. There we go. So yeah, that's my take for US 30. In terms of what we're going to do specifically for NFP this afternoon, again, that's anyone's guess. I'm not here to necessarily predict what NFP is going to do, because I quite frankly do not know. And I'm only interested really when NFP is out, and then I can digest whatever NFP is thrown at us, whether we're breaking to the upside or collapsing. Then I want to analyze that and then predict the next move from there. Not really what we're going to do on the specific event. That's not really my concern. But going forward with US 30, still very bullish, still seeing momentum to the upside. As I said, if we can clear resistance there, then look for some pullbacks. I think that would be a very nice opportunity. And likewise, if you do come back to lows, bounce off there again, maybe see some similar rejection as to what we saw yesterday. I think that's still a very smart place for a buy. And then we'll go from there. Raphael, is it a good place? Oil, okay. Yes, we can take a look at oil, no problem. Yusuf, 35, 36, okay. Okay, guess emotion took over. I didn't want to miss out on the move. Yeah, I mean, that could be the case. Again, only you would know the answer to that question. Sometimes you kind of get that gut feeling of your emotion kind of kicking in, the fear of missing out kicking in. That does trigger you over the line to actually click buy or click sell. That's something you're going to have to write down in your journal and keep a note of. But yeah, it will be difficult to eradicate that completely. Even with years of experience, you will sometimes get that itch to potentially take a position, which is why I do recommend having like a burner account, which is like a demo account, where you take those positions which are not quite up to speed, not quite up to standard. So you can still take those trades necessarily on the demo account, but not affecting any live markets or any accounts which are your bread and butter, so to speak. So if you do find yourself in that situation, you can always get a burner account and dump those positions there. That way you can even track the trades as well. So if there is something to gain from those trades, maybe those are trades you should be taking your live account, you can track them on the demo account and see. Or if they're just a load of nonsense and it's just your emotions getting the better of you, you'll find the answer to that as well. And that will give you more confidence in the future to not actually take them and just stick to the better positions, which you should be looking to take. Anyway, let's go take a look at oil. Savvy. Okay, good question. Yeah, I do have an Aussie yen trade, which I'm actually trading stops on right now, so we can kind of go through that, and I can answer your question there. But in terms of oil on the hourly chart, did you say you're looking for a short? Is it a good place to long? Oh no, you're looking for a long. Good place to long oil at 1 hour. So in terms of oil, would I be looking to long here? I can see why, approaching support, but no, I'm actually pretty bearish on oil. I do think oil can continue lower. The way I see it, prices tried to break back above key resistance and essentially failed. And especially looking at the weekly chart, it looks like we're seeing a really nice shooting star pattern with this piercing wick to the upside, basically a breaking retest of that level. I do think for the next coming weeks, we'll probably see price continue lower and end up taking out these lows and potentially going a lot further as well. So I'm actually pretty bearish on oil. Yes, there could be a short-term move because we are bouncing off support and rejecting it pretty well. So there might be something like this that does occur over the next day or two, but I do expect the bigger move to be to the downside. So in terms of buying oil, maybe if we can see momentum close, if candles can close with some momentum, see some strength, that could end up being a nice buy. But I only see it short term. So as price comes back into an area like this with supply, I'll be prepared to potentially close that trade or at least manage it a bit closer, as I would be expecting a lower high to form and us continuing lower. And of course, if price doesn't show that momentum and we end up crashing through, then yeah, I would not be looking at longs. But you're right, we are at some significant support where we could definitely bounce from, so that is something to keep in mind. But we're lacking that kind of confirmation, we're lacking that strength to really say that, okay, buyers are holding and we're likely to rally. At the moment, I would just say we're consolidating, if anything, and it's 50-50 which way we go. If we can see some strength, sure, there could be some short-term longs to entertain. But personally, I'm pretty bearish, so I'm not really considering any buys at the moment for oil. I do think the bigger move is likely lower and price can pull back, something like this. Maybe that forms some type of head and shoulder pattern there. I think that could be a very nice place for a short. And a push back to these lows. So yeah, that would be my take on oil. Ben, you're not a Forex trader, you're a futures trader? No, I'm a Forex trader. I don't trade futures. I do trade perps though, but not futures. Anyway, let's go take a look at my Aussie yen position where I can give a nice example of trading stops. So yeah, trading stops is an interesting discussion because probably FX markets is probably one of the hardest markets to actually trail stop loss as well, because they do correct and they do grind and chop around quite a lot. So you will find yourself potentially, if you kind of overuse trading stops, getting stopped out quite early and seeing price continue in your favor, because FX markets are not necessarily smooth. You're just looking generally at this market, it does chop around a lot. So if you're going to trail stop loss quite aggressively, you will get wicked out quite a lot of the times. But in this position, I've been quite fortunate. It's been a very smooth move to the upside, but conditions are very important when to use them. For example, if price is ranging and I'm trying to take advantage of a swing off a low of the range, if I'm trading stops, those stops are going to be very, very loose. The stops in this case would be more so just to limit risk rather than to kind of maximize my gains, because as price approaches the high of the range, I'm expecting us to come back down. And I wouldn't want to have a trading stop loss down here and exit down here. It makes a lot more sense to exit the trade up at the high, because that's the conditions we're seeing. Price is ranging. Typically, we're going to respect the high. Typically, we're going to respect the low. So trading stops in a range are pretty much redundant because it defeats the purpose. In heavily trending conditions, of course you want to trail, because price, you don't know how far price can go. We could see this trend, of course, maybe topple over now, or maybe it continues for a few more swings. And if you trail well, you can take advantage of that trend and walk away for a really, really healthy return. So conditions are very, very important. And this trade here is in a trending condition, not the strongest trend in the world, but it is a trending condition, and it was me trying to take advantage of this bullish trend here, which is why I did find some buys at the low. Now, this is a pretty smooth trade. It's not always going to be as smooth as this, but in this case, I was just trading my stops below these lows here, and I was giving myself quite a lot of room because I understood that price could do something like this at any point. Of course, in hindsight, we didn't really see that, but I was trading with a bit of room underneath these lows. So my advice for trading stop losses would be trail underneath structure. So as price continues in your favor, let's say if you do take a buy, and you get into a trade down here and price starts to pick up momentum, trail below these lows, but also do leave some room below them. So don't have your stop loss just right here. Have your stop loss with a little bit of room, because price will fluctuate. It will sometimes dip below lows, and be prepared to give yourself room, especially if you're trading FX, because we don't move clean. We do move jaggedy and wick around quite a lot. So trail below structure, but give yourself room. And I would suggest also, especially if you're in a bit more of a choppy condition, don't necessarily wait for price to hit your trading stop loss. Take your profit at highs as well, because then you're taking your profit at the high rather than as price rejects the high and as it comes back down here, for example. So instead of closing your profit here, you close your profit up there. So I would use it in combination with targets as well, or partials if you want. So leave yourself some room, give yourself some room below lows, and also if the conditions are quite choppy, for example, if we're trading gold, then gold I'll just use purely trading stops and just see how far we can take it, because of course this is so bullish, we don't know how far we can go. But if things are a bit more choppy, for example, let's say EuroCAD, which still has a nice trend. So it's a market which I'll use trading stops. But at the same time, if I do get into a buy and price reaches the high here, that could be a smart place to close 50%, maybe a bit more, or just close something. or potentially close everything. So I would suggest use it with a combination of targets if the conditions are a bit more choppy or you're approaching key levels. Because what you're going to see a lot of time in FX is hit key levels and come back down. So you exit trades here rather than up there. And that could be quite a big difference in terms of risk reward as well. And if you're trading in completely ranging conditions and choppy conditions, probably don't use trailing stops or give yourself a lot of room because we're going to fluctuate a lot. So yeah, hopefully that made sense. Which losses can I use on JPY pairs to pass from an account 6,000? Clarify. I mean, I wouldn't know off the top of my head, but you can Google some lot size calculators on Google. Baby Pips have a good one. If you go to Baby Pips website, they do have a lot size calculator. So depending on the risk you want to risk for each position, it will show you the lot size you need to use. But yeah, it's depending on your risk because maybe you want to risk 0.5%, maybe you want to risk 2% on a position. You know, that's up to you. But I would suggest to use a lot size calculator so you can get the actual specific lot size which you want to use. So there's many on Google you can look for. Baby Pips do a good one though. So you just enter the pair you're trading, enter the size of your account, enter the risk, monetary risk you want to take in the position. I think the pips of your stop loss as well, and then it will calculate your lot size. No problem, Yusuf. Happy to help. Hey, what's up, Lighton? Welcome to the stream, my man. Hope you are doing good. Yep, no problem. USD for protocol and dollar seat chef. Okay, cool. We can take a look at those. So USD ZAR, not USD ZAT, USD ZAR. So USD ZAR, not much. Again, it looks like we're just rejecting resistance and coming back down. So we're just repeating what we've been doing for the past few days. Again, nothing's changed in terms of the analysis. This is still my area of preference, still where I would suggest to focus on for entries, especially if you're looking for buys and for sells as well. If price does clear this area, that would be a fantastic level for a break and retest opportunity. But yeah, that's really where the focus is. I've been very reluctant to look for opportunities in this area. As I've been saying, this looks like a ranging market to me. Equal lows down there, more or less equal highs, not really, but kind of looking at it as equal highs. This is kind of the range I'm looking at. But this is definitely a undisputed clear level of support, which price has been rejecting very, very well. So naturally, if we do get there again, reject well, I do think that would be a great place for a buy. And if we don't, and if we do see price break through, then naturally it will be a great place for a short as well. So depending on the setup, I do think regardless, there will be a nice opportunity whether we're looking to buy or sell. Price still having a lot of trouble to break the highs. We did speak briefly about price breaking through and looking for continuations. Didn't really see that happen. Bit of a wick to the upside, lacked momentum. So the buys were never really there in the first place. And it looks like we're rolling back over now. So yeah, I would still wait for a push to 17.48. That's really where my attention would be, whether we're looking for a bounce or a break and retest. And for USD CHF, yeah, USD CHF had a nice bounce yesterday. Really nice bounce as price came back into resistance. We spoke about that yesterday. Had some nice confluence. You got the level of resistance there, the trend line coming through the market there as well. So I really like what price is doing at this level. As I said, we are very corrective, so I wouldn't get too excited about the shorts for dollar CHF. It's not like it's a free-flowing, heavily trending bearish market. It's really choppy, really corrective. So at some point, I do think dollar CHF will eventually break to the upside and see some continuation, because most of the time when things are this corrective, we do tend to break higher anyway. So dollar CHF, really corrective, as we are still bearish and as we are still continuous with these lower highs. For now, sells do look good, and this is the place for it. Back at resistance, you've got the trend line backing. That would be a smart place for a sell. We did rally there yesterday, nice rejection and a nice continuation. And if price breaks through the support here, breaks through the floor, this of course will be my next expectation for $CHF, another push back into the low. If you didn't take a trade here and you still want to look for some shorts, then you would want to see price rally back to resistance and reject it again and look for some more entries in that area. As long as price doesn't break to the upside like this, the shorts are still valid to me. If price does break to the upside like that, I would walk away. At that point, that would be a bullish indication to me. Perhaps we are breaking out to go higher. So I would not be looking to sell at that point. So yeah, if you're looking for entries, that's the place for it. Target 1, target 2. That's kind of how I see $CHF for now. Why choose Forex, not indices? Good question. To be honest with Forex, I've got a lot of experience with. I've been trading Forex for about 8 years, what I started with. And I have started to trade more indices actually. So it's something I'm starting to add to my watch list, because at the end of the day, I just want to trade a wide range of markets. I want to give myself the most flexibility, the most opportunities, because sometimes Forex will be really choppy and will just be disgusting. And sometimes the indices will provide much better opportunities, especially in trending conditions. So that's where I want to spend my time in those situations. And sometimes the indices can be quite choppy as well, or unclear, and maybe $CHF, whatever reason, is trending very well, and there's a nice opportunity there. So my goal really is to expand and trade not as much markets as possible, but give myself a wide range of selection. In terms of why I've been trading FX for so long, number one, comfortability. I've got a lot of experience with it. I'm very comfortable with trading FX pairs, and a lot of my strategies developed around trading FX. With indices, I will have to tweak things a little bit because indices do move slightly differently. But the big advantage, of course, with indices is direction. You know that generally speaking, you're buying. So that's where the attractiveness comes in. But in terms of selling opportunities, buying opportunities, choppy conditions, trending conditions, all these conditions are prominent in FX, and because I trade a wide range of them, there's always a nice opportunity on the horizon. So FX, because of comfortability, because I like the opportunities, because I'm very used to them, and I kind of built my strategy around trading FX pairs, which is why I stick with them. But yeah, indices are something I'm adding in. US 30, going to start looking to add oil in as well, and just give myself more options, because at the end of the day, I'm always just looking for a good trade to take. It might be on $CHF, it might be on US 30, it might be on the S&P, it might be on oil, it might be on gold. So the more the better, especially as a swing trader. If you're a bit more intraday, then you might want to knuckle down and focus on a set few, but that's my thought process behind it. Yusuf has really stopped using training stops. Okay, most time I would be in the right direction, but training stops would take me up before TP. Now just set up the trade and forget about it. Yeah, that's an effective way to manage it as well. That's an effective way to manage it. Again, there's no right or wrong. At the end of the day, all we're looking to do is just maximize our wins, minimize our losses. That's all we're looking to do. And you can maximize your wins and minimize your losses just by having a positive risk to reward. If you have the set and forget strategy, let's say you target 1 to 3, and this is your risk management. You're out the trade here, you're hoping the trade goes there. You're maximizing and minimizing your risk just by the risk to reward tool, really, because the max you could ever lose is 1R. The max you could ever make is 3R. By default, you're maximizing winners, and you're limiting your downside. Trading stops is a slightly different management technique, because you're going to be actively trying to manage, and as price progresses in your favor, you're trying to stay in those trades for as long as possible. And if price goes against you, trying to cut those trades early. Same situation, but you're right, in FX, we will chop around a lot. So conditions do play a big role. I don't trail stops with every position. Some I will not trail stops. I will always trail to break even when I've caught a nice move, because I do like kind of protecting my downside. But in terms of actively trading stops, only if conditions are favorable would I actually trail them. If it's choppy conditions, I'll normally keep stops as close to my entry as possible, because fluctuations are naturally going to happen as well. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You need to be aware of conditions, and FX, not all the time is going to make sense to trail stops. Like in this condition here, trading stops will be horrendous in these conditions. Look how price fluctuates, comes up and down. And it's not small moves either. You know, price is not just seeing a slight push up and something like this on the way down. We're seeing really big moves to the upside. So if you imagine, if you took a trade here and your targets were, let's say, down here, for example, just for example, but then you're trading stops, you might be triggered out here, but maybe price does eventually go and hits your target. But in these conditions, it just doesn't make any sense to trail stops because of how aggressive we're seeing these pullbacks. So you need to take that into consideration as well. If you go take a look at gold, however, well, gold trading stops do make sense. You know, if FX pairs consistently look like this, then trading stop loss will be the best technique ever, because we're seeing a lot of momentum, and trading stops will allow you to take advantage of that. You know, having solid take profits at highs probably gets you out the trade a little bit early for your liking. So context matters massively, conditions matter massively, how price is moving matters massively, and you don't want to overdo it. You know, what I've noticed with trading is that you have things which are optimal for a certain situation, like having targets at highs, or trading stops, or moving stops to break even, or taking partials, whatever it is. All of these things I've just mentioned are good in isolation to certain conditions. In the broad picture, they will definitely have their cons. They will definitely have moments where they're actually putting you at a disadvantage, like trading stops will do, and like having solid take profits will do. For example, at gold, let's say if you bought here, you had a take profit there, you're leaving a lot on the table. And that has been the condition for gold for the past 2 years roughly. Really aggressive trending situations. So in this case, trading stops will allow you to take full advantage of this, or full advantage as much as possible anyway. But then in more choppy conditions like dollar CHF, trading stops will put you probably at a disadvantage in those techniques. So yeah, knowing when to use them is really important. And again, all trading is just trying to maximize your wins and minimize your losses, however you get about that. There's so many different avenues you can experiment with. As long as you can do that to some degree, you're putting yourself in a good place to succeed. No problem, Lighton. Happy to help. Neves, no problem. So yeah, going into NFP today, I'm not in any USD pairs, so there's no risk in that element. But then, of course, NFP does affect all markets, doesn't it? So even if you're not in a USD pair, it doesn't really matter. But I am in Aussie Yen pair, but this I'm not really concerned about because my entry's down here, stops are actually there. So worst case scenario, if NFP does go against me, I'm out here, and I'm very much happy to walk away there. If NFP does go for me, fantastic. We'll continue to trail, breakthrough highs, great. We'll see how far we can take it. But yeah, risk is very much managed here. So going to NFP, I'm just very much going to stay open-minded, and my focus will just be around DXY, because this is the one where we are just really just doing a whole lot of nothing. So I want DXY to get the ball rolling. So USD pairs progress, and we just look for better opportunities. If we do see price break to the downside, as I've said, I will be very bearish on the dollar, looking for a push back into the low here. If price does break to the upside and we do clear resistance, great. Then I'll be looking for a push back into the high over there. That's all I'm waiting for. If NFP does give us a strong move, but it doesn't break support, then it doesn't do anything for me really. Yes, there might be some nice buys off the low, maybe some nice sells off the high for euro, but that's about it. And likewise, if NFP does take us into resistance, same again, we might reject the high as well, but that's about it. The breakouts is where I would see momentum, where I'll see trends start to form. And yeah, hopefully we can get that this afternoon. Hey, what's up? Bashi, no problem, man. Good to see you though. Hope you're doing good. Yeah, guys, make sure you do drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Hope you doing well. No problem, no problem. Yeah, but yeah, guys, if you are enjoying the stream, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. It does really help out. I do really appreciate that. If you guys are enjoying the content as well, share it with your friends. It does help the content out. And of course, do hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. And if you haven't checked out the Perps Trading platform yet, I have linked it at the top of the chat. It is pinned there, so you definitely can't miss it. Do check it out, and if you guys want to participate in the challenge, we are doing a trading competition on the Perps platform. That there is the link to the Perps platform, but the link to the document. If you want to participate in the competition, just drop your email. Again, it's just a bit of fun. There'll be rewards for the best performing trades there as well. So if you're interested, check it out. Okay, where was we? No problem, Bashi. No problem. Probably just copy and pasted and forgot to change the links. But yeah, the thought process will be what we can do with the DXY this afternoon. And then that will hopefully set up us for next week. But really, there's nothing for me to do at the moment. No trade price was bad. Yeah, price is quite flat. And sometimes you're going to get that a lot, especially before going into NFP. Sometimes price is quite quiet. I mean, I say that, but USD is dropping pretty hard there on the lower time frames. Relatively hard. We are seeing some momentum, but yeah, typically we can be quite flat before the news. So sometimes the better opportunity is waiting for the news to come in, wait for it to settle, and then move on. Pound CAD, Raheel, no problem. We can take a look. Hey, nice, Bashi, congrats. Again, slow and steady progression. Good to see, my man. Ricardo. Yes, they are valid for the shorter time frames. Yeah, that is true as well. I do think higher time frames are slightly easier to maneuver due to the less fluctuation. So I do think I would have a higher win rate on the higher time frames compared to the lower time frames. But you can still use these techniques in the lower time frames because fundamentally price action is still the same. Momentum still momentum, support still support. It's just you'll see more micro fluctuation in the lower time frames as to higher time frames. And of course, news will factor in a lot more and session timings will factor in a lot more. For example, the 4-hour chart, I'm not really too concerned with sessions because, you know, 2 4-hour candles, that's 8 hours, potentially sums up most of London going to New York as well. So it's more so candlestick closures and just measuring momentum rather than, okay, what time of the day it is on the 4-hour chart. So sessions don't really play as much of a role on like a 4-hour time frame as they would do to like a 15-minute, 5-minute chart, where sessions are quite important really because you'll see clear signs where momentum is high and volume is high and market's trending well or doing whatever, and then you'll see clear signs where the market is very flat, out of session, not really doing too much, and those are really the times where you don't really want to touch the market. So there are other things to consider when you do move to lower time frames as opposed to higher time frames. Like I said, I do think higher time frames, the price action is a bit more pure, so naturally it is easier to trade. But you can still take this to the lower time frames, and if that's where you want to operate, that's completely fine as well. Okay, so let's go through pound CAD quickly. So yeah, oh, that is not pound CAD. Okay, so going over to pound CAD. So yeah, pound CAD, I do think there are opportunities with this one, but I'm not too sure about how price is maneuvering here. It's had a very aggressive sell, and now we kind of reversed most of that momentum. I'm not quite liking how we're positioned there, to be honest. The way I see pound CAD anyway is that price is in a big range here, and price is consolidating between the highs and lows, and I'm not really seeing much of an opportunity there. So with pound CAD, because we're in the middle of the range as well, that's where the most fluctuation, where the most indecisiveness will happen. So I don't really want to be looking to get involved in these areas. After this move, I was generally expecting prices to come back and test support, but we have found support and we're rallying pretty hard off since that has happened. So with pound CAD, I'll very much just wait to see if price can get back to these areas again, and that's really where I want to monitor price and look for opportunities. We had a really nice break and retest of this area. Oh, didn't mean to do that. We had a nice break and retest of this area, which provided a very nice drop last week. That momentum has just failed to continue really. So now the plan is, can we make it back to resistance? Can we look for opportunities there to take price higher and take price lower from the high, of course, or higher from this support level? And that's really where the focus will be. In the middle, it's fluctuation, it's indecision, it's difficult to predict. And quite frankly, I wouldn't want to find any entries or stop losses in those areas anyway. If I'm taking a trade here, it's because we're back at resistance or we're back at support. This is very choppy conditions. I'm not seeing much opportunity here with pound CAD. So yeah, I would stay away. I would stay away from the time being and then look for opportunities at the high or at the low. And that's simply how I look to tackle pound CAD. This momentum here, yeah, difficult to read. We are in a long-term uptrend, but of course we are trapped within this range for now. So I would wait for us to push into resistance or support before doing anything. No, I'm not next day. I'm only next on Thursdays. Only Thursday afternoon. As the USD, Loretta, no problemo. If I can spell it, that would be nice. There we go. So yeah, ends the USD. I quite like the sell opportunity above us in this area here, 0.592. I think that's where we could see some nice selling opportunities. You can see price has been pretty consistent with these lower highs. Uno, dos, tres. There could be a fourth here. And if we are successful with that rejection, that could take us back to lows and maybe some new lows as well. If, of course, we do break out, then we could be speaking out a swing back to highs here. This could just be like a big bull flag, so to speak. Maybe not the most orthodox one, but this could just be a large correction for us to continue higher. If we do break to the upside, that's what I would be thinking anyway. But for now, we're still well within the range, still well within the channel. And if price does make another move back to resistance, that's kind of where I'm expecting price to short from. So in terms of opportunities for New Zealand dollar, it's very much waiting for price to get back to resistance again, back to the high of the channel, perhaps to look for that fourth rejection or wait for the breakout. Of course, when we get there, price will help us out in terms of where we're likely to head to. If we're seeing strength and price not really showing much rejection, or maybe we are going to see a breakout. If we get there, start to slow down, wicks start to form, strength from a bearish perspective comes into play, well, that could lead to some nice shorting opportunities to take it back into support. And again, maybe the low of the range as well. So that's something to consider. So yeah, New Zealand dollar, that's really where my focus would be. Right up at the high, 0.592. And depending what we see there, how we reject, that will kind of make or break the opportunity. And of course, I would suggest keep an eye on the dollar as well, because that will definitely factor in. It's not just NZD, it's what USD wants to do, which at the moment is still quite unclear. Yes, we're looking bearish this morning, but if we approach support, we could very much bounce and head back up again. So yeah, the focus will be NFP this afternoon. Definitely keep an eye on that. That'll be at 1:30 UK time. If we do see a breakout today, great. There could be some nice opportunities going into next week. Regardless, I'll post my analysis on the weekend. And if we're still well within the range, there won't be much of an update regarding the DXY anyway, or pretty much any of the USD pairs. I do like dollar CAD to the downside, so that's one pair I'm going to keep a very close eye on. Specifically on the 8-hour chart. If momentum does close well, if that rejection does close well, I like the break and retest of this area for at least another drop back to the low, but potentially this area here. So I can see myself potentially entering some shorts We'll see what NFP has for us this afternoon, whether we're strong or weak, because that will definitely affect how this candle does close. There we go, completely missed it. But yeah, this candle will close after NFP, so it will allow NFP to digest, do its thing, and then we'll see what the finished product is looking like. But that's the only pair which I do see myself potentially getting involved. Other than that, I'm just going to manage Aussie yen for now, and yeah, and just keep an eye on NFP really. But anyway, guys, we have approached the end of the stream. I do hope each and every one of you has found it useful and enjoyed it. If that is the case, please make sure you do drop a like. Drop a like on the stream. It does really help out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. And of course, share it with your friends. It does help grow the channel, so I do really appreciate that. And if you do want to support the channel further, there are memberships you can subscribe to, added perks, members only posts, members only videos. If you are interested, check it out. But guys, really appreciate you tuning into another stream. I hope you have enjoyed this. I do hope you guys have a great Friday. Have a great weekend as well. Rest, recharge, come back again strong for next week. Of course, at NFP in the afternoon, do watch out for that. Do not want to sleep on that, guys, at all. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you all next week.
Six AI agents, each built with a unique edge. Miko, AI, Team Leader. Ori AI, Fundamental Analyst. Exi, AI, Technical Analyst. Mesa, AI, Risk Management Specialist. Fenwa, AI Market Sentiment Analyst. And Naledi AI, the cryptocurrency expert. Together, they're engineered to protect, guide, and transform your trading. The future of trading is here. Experience Zentrix AI.